Okay, so we have autoimmune issue. Okay. So if you brought your sheets, maybe, I don't know what we could do with the immune system. I didn't make any sheets up, but we might look at the muscles and stuff like that. So if you brought your laminated sheets, that's cool. Jim, there's actually 2 sets of them if you want to just throw them out to the group. Not throw them, you know what I mean. So we have immune issues, and it's self-immune. So she's attacking herself, right? Okay. So why might somebody attack themselves?
Thinking there's some evil inside, trying to get rid of whatever.
Okay,
whatever,
thinking self is bad, for
yeah,
sure.
Something in there, trying to get rid of it.
Anything else?
Used to it. Used to it. Somebody else does it.
Used to it, hell yeah.
So if somebody else doesn't do it, you do it yourself.
Yeah, we get programmed in childhood, going back to those mental tapes and loops. If something happened and sometimes the really bad thing about childhood is you can get beat down, so this sympathetic nervous system loses its energy because it's supposed to be an alert system, okay? You can be beaten down so much that you don't have an adrenal system, because your sympathetic also governs your adrenals, your fight or flight, right? When that's all gone, you have 0 shield. So whatever somebody bombards you with in the mental, emotional, and even physical negativity goes much deeper, right? If I have a strong immunity, if somebody says something about me, here's this little negative missile. If I have a strong immunity system, I'm probably going to burn it up before it gets to me. But if there's no shield, it's not even slowed down. It's like wham, right? And if that happens over and over and over, it tears you down, right? And it hits right here, which is your immune system, your thymus, the core of self. It's the heart chakra that it ties into the center of self.
Could it also be a way, do it to myself before somebody else gets a chance to do it to me?
Yeah, there's tons of different levels. And Stephanie also, Stephanie said undeserving. You know, that all goes back to the programming. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. Like lots of times people, usually you see it kind of the opposite way, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have this way. Like somebody is in an overly sympathetic nervous system stance, and they will hurt somebody before they get hurt because that's the pattern they learned, right? Well, they're just being overly sympathetic, and they're actually damaging somebody else. That's why when you come back and have a strong sense of self, you actually have a positive effect on the community and the environment, not a negative. Okay? Huh?
That's an and infect.
Yeah, effect.
Positive effect.
I'd also add slow suicide. I mean, the ultimate freedom from everything that's painful on this earth is death, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember Deborah talked a little about something like that too. Is the suicide is like, and like you say, a lot of people do slow. I mean, a lot of habits are slow suicide because we can't just.
They're self-destructive.
Yeah, self-destructive. I think about it, most of us have some destructive pattern, whether it's eating a certain thing, drinking a certain thing, whatever it is. But if we're attacking self, what might that say about what she might be doing to herself? I mean, you can look at these little laws if you want to look at.
Lack of self-love, self-hate.
That's where actually I'm going in my mind. Thank you, Laura. Is self-loathing. Whether she's conscious of it or not, there might be an aspect where she basically hates herself. Does that make sense? Isn't that a reason to attack yourself? Right? But that's coming from a lack of this. Okay? Which of course happened by the environment, right? You know, whether it was in childhood or whatever, you can be programmed to hate yourself. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, the programming is not that hard. They do it in TVs, they do it in everything. It's been highly studied, and there's very specific patterns of doing it in no time. You can brainwash somebody,
Or even
hypnotize people.
Or even when you're a child. I mean, where can you go? You've got to have parents or teachers or somebody influence you.
Right.
Where else are you going to go?
Right, and in childhood you don't have a strong sense of self because you're just growing up, right? And that's, I think, one of the large problems is what I call passing the poisonous apple. Is the parents that you know, none of us had perfect parents, but our parents didn't have perfect parents, right? My mom was overly sympathetic because she had an alcoholic mother who was quite, you know, in her perception, dangerous. Her environment is dangerous, right? So she had to adapt based on that. But only we can take hold of what we got to change the future for that. But right now, we have to address what's happened with her, which I believe through her own personal experience, she's got some aspect where she's attacking herself. I mean, we even do, you know, mentally, emotionally, when you attack yourself, there's going to be a physical reaction to that somewhere, right? So we have lupus and Sjogren's.
Secondary, yeah.
Secondary. That's what they label it. Yeah.
She's sitting there tapping on
I know, I was
her
wondering.
lower abdomen.
The thing about the abdomen, though, sorry, some people are
No,
really,
you're fine, you're fine.
some people are really sensitive about their abdomen. It's the one part of the body that you're most vulnerable, right? You have a rib cage for a reason. Your heart needs to be protected in your lungs, but your guts aren't really protected. That's why with dogs, you know that they're letting you into their, letting them be intimate when they roll over and expose their belly. Because they know too, this is where you could kill my ass, right? So she's like tapping here. So there's, this body language might be some issues around protecting self. Or in, anything movie like that is always anxious, sympathetic energy moving through the system. It's like, because if you're in this core center, meditation is when you're never, let me go this way. Sorry if I'm breaking up here with my thoughts. Yin and yang has a dot for a reason, because you're never fully parasympathetic, you're never fully yin, and you're never fully yang, okay? It's just impossible to be that way. In other words, you can never be completely in your left brain, you can never be completely in your right brain, but one will be dominant and the other takes the back seat, okay? So when you're sympathetic, the energy goes out to the extremities, right? So if I'm meditating, I'm more parasympathetic than sympathetic. So when you're meditating, you become very, very still, right? And quiet and calm. And you go to yang, right? And when you don't do that to that degree, some people do, right? You had to shoot them with a tranquilizer. Jim, did you bring your tranquilizer gun? But to the level of disturbance, you'll find these little movements. I mean, sometimes we call them tics or whatever. It's that nervous energy having to have some outlet. Does that make sense? Okay. So things like this are an indicator that she is in a sympathetic right this moment, right? More than likely, she's living in it, and that's why she has the physical reaction in my weird world of the quote-unquote dis-ease. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Anybody pick anything else up to begin with, or? She's come a long way, because she's getting up here, and she tends to be very anxious, I'll use that word, sorry, in front of people, in front of groups. So she's actually come a long way since she started coming. So
I just learn it all before I do it.
yeah. But that's learning it all before you do it. Is that you've got to create a certain sense of security. Okay, if you're within, which is all about guarding self. So, but anyway, cool. I'm just going to rub right here. I'm drawn to the K27 points. Can anybody tell me maybe why?
Seems to be on the
Switched, okay?
Yeah.
A K27, which is kidney meridian, number 27. You got like 27 points in the kidney meridian. What sits on top of the kidneys? Adrenals, right?
Adrenals, yeah.
Okay, so when somebody's overly sympathetic, this is one of the good points to go to, because it doesn't necessarily take her out all the way, but it takes some of the chill off. Because what I'm beginning to notice, and why I'm being taken this particular way, is because if you're working with somebody that is like excessive sympathetic nervous system, it's hard to reach them. You could tell them exactly what's wrong, and it'd be impossible for them to hear them, because it can't get through this to here. They don't know who the hell they are. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you got to unswitch them a little bit, so they're, if somebody's like really freaking out, you can't talk to me like that, because they are not hearing you. Now, she's not to that degree, but there's a little bit of that static.
It's not right now, but
yeah. But there's like this static in the system that if I don't unswitch her, I'm going to have to fight against that to go any deeper. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just something to be aware of.
What do you mean by unswitch? Is she polar now?
Right now she's oversympathetic, yes. But there's a thing called switching, which has to do with K27 points. You know how this negative, positive, feminine, masculine? Well, the energies will switch when you're stressed. Okay? And you can tell when somebody's switched, because they'll say something like, "This is my right hand, this is my left." They'll say things backwards, which means it's a way of protecting your brain from stress. Okay.
And it's so funny how other people's perceptions can be so totally different.
Bambi just said that earlier.
Did you? Because I see her as young, beautiful, confident, successful. That's how I see her, but I don't know her that well. I never would have thought this.
Yeah. And to me,
I don't think it. I don't.
Right.
Okay, anyway.
But she sees that of you. And the thing about that is, one thing to take away is we tend to be judging ourselves in comparison to the community. When you know what? Everybody in this room has got their own level of screwed upness, right?
Oh, yeah.
So for one thing, you should take away from that you can relax. And for one thing, don't fucking compare yourself to anybody else because we're all fucked up. Okay?
Right, in our own different ways.
So it's not a contest,
And-
no, somebody put on, it's not a contest where.
Yeah.
So we got like a little meter, right?
And also there is a hormone that's secreted whenever you're under stress, and then somebody, or even somebody could just tell her, you know, oh, you don't know that for sure, or are you sure about that? And it's called protein kinase C. And if you have that in your system, you can't think. You can't even, if somebody throws a question to you, you can't think of the answer
I
because
do that.
that hormone is there. Because-
See, and the hormones aren't strictly your personality. And another thing about the hormones, though, they all line up with the chakras.
Yes.
I mean, your 7 major chakras line up with the endocrine system, and that's no accident, okay? And when you get up to the top of the mountain, Moses going to the top of the mountain to get the 10 commandments, which are actually the 2 pituitary lobes. And the commandments are hormones. The hormones Moses brings back down to the bottom of the mountain to the rest of the body, Moses being the water, the fluid in the body. Moses means water, okay? It's all cryptic. The whole Bible is just a cryptic, trippy story. Some acid people wrote that. Well, they have freaking mushroom hats on, hello!
Yeah, really.
They're freaking doing magic I mean, if you look at and they've got crystals on, wow. I mean, like, hello. So anyway, you got these guys doing some shrooms. Of course, it does open your third eye. You get some cool information. You should try it. I'm kidding.
That's funny because I went to Sunday school today with the boys to help.
Uh-huh.
And they were talking about Easter, you know, and of course it's the
Palm Sunday.
Fertility, right?
it's like the kid question, you know, for children. And they said, anyone have any questions? I said, well, you know,
You're
Jesus
asking the
did
question.
this, yeah, on a Friday. And he, you know, rose on Sunday. I said, what happened in between? They said, well, you know, they put him, whatever, they put him in the, I said, no, what happened to him?
Uh-huh.
And they didn't have an answer.
Right.
I just, you know, I was just throwing it out there to see what they say, but they didn't say anything. I don't know.
Some churches teach that he descended into
Right.
hell and set the captives free.
Well, I know that there's all kinds of different, you know.
Beliefs
'cause
based on.
yeah, but I just thought, just to see what they said.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Just to test them. Yeah.
Well, just to see what they're, you know.
But what's really interesting, and I tend to believe this.
Now all the kids are going to go, yeah, why the?
Good for you putting that down.
There
in
you
the
go.
box.
I know.
That's right.
But actually, I mean, people need to question things, okay? And from my perception, if you actually line up pagan holidays with the nowadays Christian holidays, they are right on, okay? And the reason being is that Christianity wanted to pull the pagans into the fold, so they adopted those holidays. Easter is about fertility. Hello, a rabbit carrying eggs. You know that a rabbit is one of the few, and I found this out by accident because we had some rabbits. Rabbits are one of the few animals that actually have 2 uteruses. Okay, this is a true.
Jesus.
This is a true story. So it's all about fertility. Here's a creature that has 2 uteruses and carrying eggs. That's a fertility rite. And that's when they had all their sex rituals and stuff. But Laurie and I have, huh?
It's about rebirth.
Yeah, exactly. Rebirth is in spring. Spring is when you have the sexual rite, right? That all follows in line. Laurie and I had some rabbits, and this female rabbit just had a litter. So we brought her in because it was cold outside. And then a couple of weeks later, she was wigging out. I mean, she just had babies, right? Wigging out. And then I was like, she looks like she's pregnant again. Put her outside, she had more. And that's when we learned, just by that experience, that female rabbits have 2 uteruses. The whole thing about Easter is a fertility rite, right?
And then did she take care of both?
Yeah. I can't remember the whole story there. I'm a man. I only highlight certain parts of the story.
Trust me, if I had 2 uteruses and had a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have had another baby. I remember it.
I had a friend that had 2 uteruses.
Really?
Yeah.
I treated a woman with 2 uteruses.
Really?
Oh my
But
God.
that's a regular rabbit's anatomy. A female rabbit, 2 uteruses. That means they can have. That's why they multiply so fast because they're like ×2.
Wow.
Oh, and she had twins. That's interesting. We're talking about, the funny thing about when you talk about things, how it all kind of consciousness plays.
I wonder one uterus, I think, though.
Okay.
They were in the same one.
We don't have the equipment to
They
check.
share.
Right?
We don't have sonograms.
We do have a sonogram person here, but not the device.
Damn it.
And she uses yellow chroma. There was a word for it. I'm just saying that because I was talking to her earlier. It's how weird how little things is so. Okay, so I've done the K27. How are you feeling right now?
Fine.
And
Does that sound like she's saying? Fine. Fine.
No, just I'm listening.
That's like
taking it in.
Okay,
Okay, I don't.
Okay, so she, okay, just
Okay.
relax. Don't worry, don't worry. So she said she's listening and taking it in. It's so, to me, all this stuff we're talking about is starting to short circuit her, which tells me that she's got, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Because when you're overly sympathetic, you're so on that all this stuff's coming at you that you cannot slow it down in yourself to like make sense of it. So I think what happens partly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you get all this stuff flying at you, it's hard for you to, you start feeling like you're being attacked and bombarded. There's too much information.
Yeah.
it's like
Because
being
I
a-
have to like read something like 5 times before I get it. You
There-
know, or hear it. Or
Yeah, the
whatever.
reason that is because she's too unsympathetic and she's not parasympathetic into yourself. Because if you ever tried to read something, if you're in a room with 3 people and they're having a conversation,
Right.
I'm likening that to her own head. So she's trying, so herself is trying to take something in, but her mind is so distracted that she can't concentrate. Does that make sense? So to me, it's all about you not being able to concentrate. It has nothing, so we can actually misjudge a child and say they got learning disabilities when it's just they can't concentrate, right? So there's lots of misdiagnosis around these things. And the person like, oh, their child's stupid or whatever. She's not stupid. She's very intelligent. She's just overloaded, literally. Okay?
See, and then I feel like a dick because you're trying to help and I'm just.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's- to me,
Take all the pressure off yourself.
Exactly. That's why she got a bunch of. So that attacking the self, she's like put herself in a vice.
What
Yeah.
I
I don't know
think
why,
from
but-
that is that the like the outer the community sympathetic
Uh-huh.
is like the outer swirly part of the tornado,
Exactly. That's
and
exactly.
and the parasympathetic is the core.
Well, thank you for bringing that in because you know we've been talking about the toroidal field for y'all
Yes.
there.
That's where you get hit by.
Yeah, this would be like looking down the top of the toroidal field. The toral, the center of that toroidal field, which in biblical terms is the Torah with the 7 seals, which is the chakras, that's that inner tube that you want to be strong and centered in. The outside swirling energy, this part here, you don't want to be out here, okay? Because that's just energy floating in and in. And when something happens, let's say you get thrown, ejected out of your core self, you get thrown into the sympathetic nervous system, you're floating out here. That means there's no core, and it's like you lose a wobble. It's like a gyroscope. It loses its center and gets thrown all over the place. If you're at the core center, you actually change the environment around you as opposed to you being thrown around by the environment. So when you're overly sympathetic, you get thrown all around, which makes you want to be even more on guard, right? So it's a self-fulfilling like wheel you get stuck on.
Or you want to run away.
Yeah, and that's been one of my patterns, to be honest. When I get overloaded, I'm like,
Yeah.
go the hell away, And so but the only reason I do that is because there's something I still need to work on. There's something that I still need to work on to create a healthy boundary without having to yell about it, you know what I mean? Or run away from it. So I can understand why my mom freaks out and then she needs to run away. Because that's the only thing that she can see is safe because she cannot use, she had thyroid cancer when I was younger. There's so many correlations here. She doesn't have a voice to say yes or no. She got into this problem because she didn't say what she needed when she needed it, right? And now the problem becomes huge when it didn't have to be.
And she said it herself, how she feels when she cannot think and make a decision. She just said that she feels like a dork. Well, if what you're feeling comes to you, then it's a cycle that she's in.
Right, and
She's
it's
saying.
that energy that comes around. So so let's think about this. Okay, thank you, Deborah. That cued me into something. Let's say you're in your core and you have positive thoughts around you that are spiraling out from the core. Okay, if you're out here and you're having all these negative thoughts, those are going back in. So that's the self-attack. I'm a dork. Every time they go. But the thing about that, if we're creating reality, and these little orbs that we're in are pulling things to us, because just like this was like a blender inside of water, how you pull things to it. This dork thing that's flying around here is going to pull in environmental factors that reinforce that. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay? That's why it's freaking important to be in the center and say what you really want, not this. But she's got it, and why she's a really good example tonight, she's got it to an extra level because she's doing it to herself too. So she's going to have the feedback from the environment plus beat the hell out of herself. So she gets no reprieve.
Would positive affirmations for just like standing in front of the mirror and saying,
With overly
"I am-"
sympathetic people, I don't think it works.
What, doesn't work?
No, because it's like if you can't talk to somebody freaking out, huh?
You don't believe it.
Exactly. You don't believe you gotta get to
You
So
said
we
it
did
works,
that
but
one
you don't
time, and
feel
I
it.
said, well, what happens if I don't believe it?
Yeah.
And you're like,
So
just do
there's
it.
that.
Just do it.
Incongruency.
Yeah. It can see.
And I'm not being negative,
All
but
right,
I'm just.
let me take it back to the parasympathetic, sympathetic, okay? The parasympathetic governs mostly the digestive system and taking things in, right? If she's overly sympathetic, the ability for her to take things in is gone. And we don't just use this energy here to digest food, we digest thoughts, emotions, all that. So when you're overly sympathetic, when you're out in the field, you can't take what's coming in, which feeds the other system where you get more and more all overloaded. So it's like, my plate is full and people keep piling shit on it. I'm gonna fucking scream. That's the type of energy that can build. So you can't take something, even when it's like, oh, Jell-O. You're already so full that you can't even take something. My brain is like, I'm just like, I saw these vegetables, mashed
There's
potatoes.
always room for
Yeah,
Always room for Jell-O.
But even when Jell-O comes, you're like, oh, I still
Yeah, I
can't take that in,
can't
right?
right?
Right.
10 minutes, wait for 10 minutes.
I know whenever people say that, you know, I don't know, people say that whenever you're nervous, you eat a lot.
Mhm.
I don't. I can't.
Well, everybody's,
Because I just get, and it just nuts.
well, it's because she's not digesting,
You know?
right? So, but if she could, she probably would. Everybody's different makeup. Somebody's nervous system may not be that on, so they can get away with eating just enough. But then what happens is they can create a physical barrier because they can't create a real barrier. And we call that insulation, pancreas, insulin, fat, whatever you want to call it. You create your own barrier, which gives you more. Think about it. Let's say you have you have an issue with creating boundaries and or saying no to people, so you don't want that to happen. What if putting on weight with some people is a way of not having to interact with people?
Yeah.
Okay, because it pushes some people away when they judge that. Therefore, you have less to interact with, and you have less to try to face and say no with. So let's get back to Burns here. Let's tap some. What time is it? 10 after what? 7. Thanks.
What day is this?
Oh my God. She's like, I should have worn every shirt. Why do you say that?
Nothing.
Because horizontal makes you look bigger. You're laying down, you look really thin. Okay.
I don't know why, but
Tell me what. Tell me.
I just keep getting that it goes way, way back to womb. When I see her
Okay.
doing this, I keep getting this, feed me life, show me life, give it to me, like she's used to someone else giving her, so she can't do for her. I mean, like it's like way back, like whatever her mom fed into her feeling wise, whatever her environment was, that's what she got.
And it's the mother's environment too.
That's what I'm talking
remember,
about.
Remember talking
It's-
about hormones? Let's say the mother's stressing out.
That's
what
what
do
I'm
you think?
getting.
What do you think the baby happens?
Right,
that's-
yeah. I mean,
That's exactly, the whole
I mean,
entire time I've been
yeah.
trying to say that, I kept getting interrupted.
You
but
need to go with that because
It was, that's what I keep
Right.
getting, I keep feeding. And then when you are feeding her some knowledge that she gets, she moves her hands up and away.
Mhm, I
And
saw
then when
that
you
too.
start talking about something she doesn't know, she does this.
Mhm. Right. So it's like being open, and see the solar plexus here, so she's moving into
But
self-protection.
she's drawing the energy right where, the umbilical cord goes. It's,
Yeah.
this is where she's like, okay, I'm connected up, give it to me. Okay, now let me stop. It's like putting the fork down,
Yeah.
chewing it up for a minute, and then,
Exactly. And that's the thing is she can't take stuff in fast. She needs to have it as a nice slow pace. And I think that's why you hated that other job because they were pushing you to go so fast, right?
Yes.
See, she could not handle that. I mean, here they're trying to like make her go faster. She'd just be stressed all the time. And Stephanie, you got to go with your intuition. I've had some really strong experiences where I kind of, in a session, like felt like I was in the womb with the person.
yes.
And there was an instance where this might tie in. We'll see. What came up to me was I was like I would sometimes vision myself, or it happens automatically. Like I was in the womb, I was this girl, and she was starving. She had a twin. Interesting, we have twins here. She had a twin,